Hello, my name's Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for February 15th to February 21st of 2015. And on February 15th, we have the sun. You can see it right here, denoted by this black circle with a dot in it. It's in Aquarius. It's in the 30th hexagram, and we can see the chop mark for the 30th hexagram on the outside of the wheel, numbered from bottom to top. The 30th goes yang, yin, yang, yang, yin, yang. And then the 30th hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here is the 30th gate of recognition of feelings, the clinging fire, freedom recognized as an illusion and limitation accepted as fate, located in the solar plexus center in an abstract collective energy path in the sensing circuit called the channel of recognition, a design of focused energy feelings that connects to the 41st gate of contraction, decrease, the limitation of resources, which maximizes the development of potential. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on February 15th. We have the sun in the 30 with the earth in the 29. The north node is in the 48 with the south node in the 21. We have Mercury just newly direct in the 41st gate, and Venus and Mars are both in the 36th gate. Jupiter is retrograde in the 7th gate. Saturn is in the 34th gate. We've got Uranus also in the 21st gate with the south node. Neptune is in the 37th gate, and Pluto is in the 38th gate. And obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information is very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com, click on the button that says get your free rave chart, and enter in your birth information. And the neutrino forecast is just a weather report. No matter what the weather, an individual's strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru Hu said, whatever the weather's going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And we begin the week with one channel definition due to the transit field. We've got Mercury in the 41st gate and the sun in the 30th gate. So we have the channel of recognition until the 18th. And this gives us a few days to dream for the sake of the dream without the expectation of the dream coming true or bringing lasting peace. And this is part of the abstract collective circuitry. So sharing experiences about our hopes and dreams with others will have a profound ability to stir their feelings. I'd expect folks to be more restless in their experience of a connection between the root and solar plex center. For those who do not have an emotional definition, this channel can bring the unfamiliar wave of emotions, a yearning to feel in order to learn. And with folks without the defined root center, this transit definition can bring pressure. We're going to be looking at the sun's rave I Ching line values daily, because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ra said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, when talking about these daily shifts of line values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. If your strategy and authority doesn't lead you in that direction, you can always notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. On February 15th, the day begins with the sun exalted in the 30th gate in the second line, which is described as pragmatism, the balance between extremes, exalted the productive application of energy without wastage, not wasting energy on feelings. And second line days, everybody's waiting for something. They're waiting to be called, particularly called for their natural talents, so they could be stuck in their own trip. So it might not be a great day to have a party or some big social event, because folks would really rather stay at home under the second line influence. Later on the 15th, the sun then moves out of the line of the hermit into the line of the martyr, the third line, and this shift happens at 4 40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the times I'm going to give you are going to be Eastern Standard Time, so you want to convert that to your local time zone. And the sun in the third line of the 30th hexagram is resignation, exalted the awareness and manifestation of the law of regeneration, the laws of karma, reincarnation, and resurrection, the feeling to accept what is, detrimented the tendency by its very knowledge to encourage and or avoid despair, the positive or negative feelings which come with the acceptance of what is. And third line days, we're talking about the martyrs who've got, a trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. And things bump into us under third line energy. So we want to be careful on the roads, be careful of swinging doors or elbows or whatever. It's a day when we might have bonds made and broken. It's really about a trial and error process. It's a good material day. It's good for doing business and work on the material plane, but you have to be careful because things can go wrong, but ultimately those things lead to discovery. And then on the 16th, the sun moves into the fourth line, so out of the martyr line into the opportunist line, again 30th hexagram, the shift being at 2:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where the sun in the 30th gate in the fourth line is described as burnout, an unrealistic pace that begs misfortune, exalted a compulsive and hyperactive nature that carries all the earmarks of burnout but doesn't necessarily arrive at it. A positive outcome is often assisted through analysis, highly energized feelings that may lead to emotional collapse, detrimented uncontrollable expansion with its inevitable bursting of the bubble, uncontrollable feelings and accompanying emotional outbursts. And fourth line days where the perspective changes. The lower trigram, first, second, and third lines, this is more of an inward process. It's personal, whereas the upper trigram, the fourth, fifth, and sixth line, is transpersonal. So that we shift from perhaps looking inward to more having an outward perspective with the themes of friendship, companionship, networking. Fourth line days are great for social interaction. People are much more open to networking, to being friendly and social. On the 17th, the sun then moves into the fifth line of the 30th hexagram, and this happens at 1:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 30th hexagram in the fifth line is described as irony, recognition, and dedication to transitory goals, exalted the strength derived from knowledge and experiences that two steps forward and one step back is still one step forward. Each new feeling brings back an old feeling before progress can take place. Detrimented the anger engendered by irony, frustration, and its limitations, and the desire to eliminate the entire process. Frustration and anger with old feelings brought into the emotional awareness with each new experience. And fifth line's the line of the heretic here. This is about projection, and the projection is a positive followed by negative. Positive being they could do it, they'd be great at, they're the perfect person for whatever it is. And then if the person doesn't do it, can't do it, doesn't want to do it, for whatever reason they don't meet that expectation, then the projection turns negative with the accompanying punishment that we see with it. So it's a day of suspicion, but also of universalization, where something can leak out and spread like a virus, whether it's a YouTube video where there's suddenly millions of viewings or a Facebook post that goes viral. But there's a great deal of suspicion and paranoia on a fifth line day. But as I've said before, it's not really paranoia if they're really out to get you, which they often are with all the projection that goes along with this. And this, of course, can impact the nature of relationships. Seduction is also a theme of a fifth line day. Later on the 17th, the sun then moves out of the heretical line into the role model sixth line of the 30th hexagram. And this shift happens at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so just 30 minutes before midnight. And the sun in the sixth line of the 30th hexagram is enforcement, the discipline to maintain right action, exalted the assertiveness to purge the inferior while accepting to lead the weak, the strength to eliminate negative feelings, detrimented the inherent peacefulness that all too often will abide the presence of inferior forces, a lack of strength in eliminating negative feelings. And sixth line days, role model line days, we're up here, we're on the roof of the hexagram. If you think about being on the roof of your house, you don't tend to look at your house so much as what else is around in the neighborhood. And this is a characteristic of the sixth line day of looking beyond. And Ra talked about not getting stuck with your head in the clouds because you'll end up with something banging into your shins or your kneecaps. It's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around you because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment. And like the third line day, there's certain dangers of not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming. Also on the 17th, Mars moves out of the 30th hexagram, but it's leaving Mercury there, and it moves into the 25 up here in the G center. And and this is Mars. It's in the gate of the spirit of the self, innocence, the perfection of action through uncontrived and spontaneous nature. Mars is in the first line of the 25, which is selflessness. Motiveless action, exalted the universalization of activity, psychic attunement that is its own reward, the potential for centering through attunement to challenges, detrimented a tendency to publicize one's selflessness, the insecurity of the self manifested in times of challenge. Ross spoke about Mars being an extraordinary and immature energy resource that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts. Mars represents the warrior archetype, and by following our strategy and authority, we slowly refine the energy of our design and personality Mars from immaturity to wisdom. And then on the 18th, the sun moves out of the 30th gate and into the 55. Let's get one that's a little more sticky. Hopefully. And with this, I'll just go small. And with this, the Earth also changes. They always move together. And the Earth moves from the 29 to the 59. And of course, when the sun moves out of the 55, we no longer have this definition due to the transit field. And so let's talk about this a little bit. First of all, we've got the Earth. It's in the 59th hexagram, and this is the gate of sexuality, dispersion, the ability to break down barriers to achieve union. And this shift happens at 9:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we've got the sun. It's in the 55th gate of spirit, abundance. Abundance is strictly a question of spirit. And the sun in the first line of the 55 is cooperation, exalted, the expansion of activity through cooperation with powerful forces, through the principled actions that guarantee continued support and engender prosperity, the potential to find spirit through cooperation with powerful forces, detrimented the concentration on harmonic relationships with powerful forces that provide for continuity, but not necessarily advancement, the potential to harmonize with powerful forces, but not necessarily for the benefit of spirit. And, now we're in a new hexagram in first, second, third line days. Again, lower trigram, more personal process. People are more looking inward, more absorbed in their own process. And the theme of the first line, the investigative line, is a fear or anxiety that needs to be researched or investigated. So it's a day to study, not to act. It's a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day to deal with things you don't know or can't understand, can't make sense of. All these sort of research type of things are aided under the influence of the first line. And with the sun entering into the 55th hexagram and the earth in the 59, we enter into the cross of the sleeping phoenix along with the 34 and the 20. And next week, the sun will enter into the 37 hexagram and the earth into the 40, which is the cross of planning. And this brings us a glimpse of the upcoming shift in global cycle, except in reverse. And I'll explain more about the global cycles later in this report. The important thing to understand is how different the theme of the cross of planning is from the theme of the cross of the sleeping phoenix. This is where human design is very helpful because we're living in time of change of the background frequency as we move through the breakdown of infrastructure that supports community and its dependencies and emerge in the energy of the empowered individual. So this week is we're feeling the solar background frequency of deep individuality and how different it is from the supportive tribal vibration of the 37 at 40, which we'll have next week. So the breakdown of the cross of planning can be seen in the breakdown of all types of community infrastructure, from roads and bridges and highways to social services to educational systems, to political, legal, and policing organizations whose purpose used to be to serve and protect, becoming serving and protecting the fortunes of individuals. And Ross said, like the cross of planning, the cross of the sleeping phoenix contains a definition with the 2034. This is enormously powerful manifesting generator potential. It's the potential that is deeply, deeply, deeply individual, and it's why human design is about the development of unique potential, why strategy and authority is a navigating tool for operating on this plane in this time of extraordinary transition. We live in a huge neutrino field, and in this weather field, it's not just simply about recognizing whatever it is we have to deal with in our personal lives, but to understand the larger structures that are there and what's at work. And what's at work is truly a great change. It's a signpost every year as I watch this transit. It's a reminder of what we are leaving behind and where we are going. And then on the 19th, the sun moves into the second line of the 55, and with this shift happening at 8:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the sun in the 55 too is distrust, abundance hampered by slander or gossip. Exalted, the gift of being able to penetrate to the center that may demonstrate effectively through its related talents that its trustfulness is genuine. Emotional stability and strength of spirit is dependent on being trusted by others. Detrimented, the direct challenge to the slanderers who always will have the advantage of quoting the bard. Methinks he doth protest too much. Only continued example can overcome distrust. The emotional drive to insist on trustworthiness that does not guarantee its acceptance by others or the benefits of spirit. And second line days, we talked about this earlier. This is about the natural and waiting for something, waiting to be called. And again, this is the line of the hermit. So, folks are really wanting to more remain at home and things of that nature. Also on the 19th, Venus moves out of the 36th and joins Mars in the 25. In human design, Venus is very powerful, deeply misunderstood, according to Ra. It brings morality, values, natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us, and what disturbs you on a moral level. Your design and personality Venuses tell us about the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life. And then if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in this retribution. Venus in the 25th gate of the spirit of the self, innocence, the perfection through of action through uncontrived and spontaneous nature. And Venus, again, it's in the first line, which is selflessness, motiveless action, exalted the universalization of activity, psychic attunement that is its own reward, the potential for centering through attunement to challenges, detriment, a tendency to publicize one's selflessness, the insecurity of the self manifested in times of challenge. The 20th, the sun then moves up into the third line. So we're in the martyr line of the 55. The shift is happening at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 55-3 is innocence. Here, I am only following orders, is a genuine defense. Exalted when the form is correct and attempts at actualization have been disciplined within guidelines. Failure cannot be personally attributed. The emotional possibility to recognize that despite one's best efforts, failure is possible and does not need to affect the spirit. Detrimented, where struggle against conformity or individual initiative can bring a superior to ruin while safely hiding behind a shield. The energy to selflessly protect one spirit at the expense of others. And we talked about third line days, again, the martyr, trial and error process, bonds made and broken, decision-making ability by figuring out what doesn't work, and through that actually figuring out what does work because we can't figure out how to break it under that third line energy. Again, it's a time when things can go wrong, but ultimately, what do we discover when things go wrong? And then on the 21st, the sun moves into the fourth line of the 55 at 4:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the sun in the 55-4 is described as a simulation, the establishment of a framework that balances principles with energy and leads inevitably to the expansion and to expansion and prosperity. The possible spirit that comes when emotional awareness and energy are balanced and principled. Detrimented, boundless energy that knows no restraint, boundless energy that ignores awareness at the risk of spirit. And fourth line days, again, we talked about this before, moving out of the lower trigram of a personal experience into the upper trigram of more transpersonal energy, more shifting outward with the themes of friendship, companionship, and networking. So let's talk about the 55th hexagram here. The sun transiting through its lines this week and into next week, because this is the cross of the next global cycle, when the precession of the equinox retrogrades from the 37-1 into the 55-6 in February of 2027. And the precession of the equinox is caused by the fact that the Earth has a slow wobble on its axis. Excuse me. and the wobble on its axis causes us to move through the themes of the zodiac and the hexagrams in reverse. And this is a 25,772-year cycle to move through the 360 degrees. And it's called the great year in astrology. And moving through the great months, like the age of Leo, then the age of Cancer, then the age of Gemini, then Taurus, then Aries, and currently in Pisces. And these ages are each 2,148 years long, and we experience 1 degree of movement through the zodiac every 71.6 years. And in human design, this is called the Global Consciousness Program, which is different from the planetary program that we cover in the Daily Neutrino Forecast. And we've been in the 37th hexagram and the cross of planning in the global cycle since 1615, which marked the explosion of the industrial age. And we've been in the first line of the 37 since 1960. So we've been in the line of a secure foundation and investigation. And in the 37, it's about family, tribe, and community. But as we approach the 6th line of the 55, we experience the breakdown of the supports of the tribe and community. We experience the breakdown of the bargain. In 2027, we enter into the 6th line of the 55. And the 6th line is about maturation and transition, which we're already experiencing. Excuse me. And the foundation is disappearing. And this can be alarming if we're not aware that this is an evolutionary process. And we're currently in the 37-1 breakdown phase of the support of communities as we're moving from the cross of planning with the 37, the 40, the 9, and the 16 to the cross of the sleeping phoenix with the 55, 59, 34, and 20. We're moving from tribal and collective logic gates to predominantly mutative individual gates. So in 2027, we move to spirit, abundance. Abundance is strictly a question of spirit. And in the 6th line of the 55, which is selfishness, acquisition, obsession through alienating, and is indirectly beneficial materially to others or not. And this is selfishness of the spirit. It's not negative. It's about putting integrity and your authentic self first through strategy and authority. And the 55 and its corresponding DNA codon, histidine, is where the mutation takes place, where the emotional spirit awakens. Children born with this mutation are the rave children. They're the next evolution of our species. The solar plexus will change into a pure awareness center like the splenic and ajna centers are currently, as it will no longer be a motor generating the emotional wave in children born with the mutation. This movement is a movement from left brain strategic thinking to right brain receptive thinking. This is the emergence of a new kind of cognition. So this week we're experiencing a signpost of what's to come, and next week the signpost is what we're leaving behind. So no matter what the energies that are conditioning you during the week, just remember this is about, remember this experience is about being a passenger, riding in a vehicle, driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day is a blessing, no matter what the dramas are that beckon to distract us. We're all giving the performance of a lifetime on this world stage. Just take some time to observe the play as well as act your part. Remember, you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. And I'd like to thank you for checking out New World Birth. And the next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on February 22nd of 2015. It should be available on the 21st, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube. There's New World Birth presences in all those places. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. And I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you've got any questions or wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And again, email me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you would like to make a donation. Or, as I've said before, getting a reading is an excellent way to support us here at New World Birth, and plus get something truly important for yourself. These readings tend to be epic, going at least 2 hours and often much longer, into 3. What can I say? I'm a projector. Sometimes I just don't know when enough is enough. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. As always, great gratitude to you, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you in the future. All right, see you next week.